Okay, YouTube version of trivia for the week. Gonna do this quick because I want to have a nap. Here we go. Rules same as ever. Category 1 in the news. 5 stuff that's happened since last time we did trivia. Question 1. What NBA superstar was pulled mid game last week in a game against the Raptors for violating COVID-19 protocols? Question 2. This week, a New York Times produced documentary was released detailing the unusual and often difficult life of what pop star? Question 3. This week, Texas attorney Rod Ponton attended a district court proceeding via Zoom with 2 judges, but was surprised that, due to an applied filter, he appeared on the call as what? Question 4. Joining Iron Maiden and many other artists as nominees for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year is what head over heels American new wave band fronted by Belinda Carlisle? And your last in the news question, what performer tied a Golden Globe record this week by picking up 3 nominations for the award? 2 for acting and 1 for producing. Okay, your next category is called Production Hell. So I give a hat tip to the Critical Drinker for all of these questions. Check him out on YouTube. I'm going to tell you the story of a movie and about how difficult it was to create. You just have to tell me or answer the question about that movie. Here's your first question. The troubles on the production of this 1975 classic are legendary. An inexperienced director coupled with problems with the title creature and 2 co-stars who couldn't stand each other caused the movie to run way over budget and behind schedule, which is a theme of these questions. But an example of art through adversity, the pieces eventually came together to make what iconic film? These are all a mouthful. So question 7. Perhaps no making of story is more legendary than that of Apocalypse Now. Filming in the Philippines was hampered by tropical storms and an ongoing civil war. They cycled through 3 lead actors before landing on Martin Sheen, whose drinking became such a problem that one early scene where he has a mental breakdown is real footage of him. Marlon Brando showed up overweight, so most of his scenes had to be shot in the dark, and he feuded with one coke-fueled co-star so much that their scenes together had to be shot separate and edited together after the fact. Who was this co-star? Question 8. In another production nightmare, the filming of this 1989 movie, which took 6 months, where numerous cast and crew were subjected to hypothermia and hypoxia, caused stars Ed Harris and Mary Elizabeth Mastroianno to refuse to attend promotional events and vowed to never work with director James Cameron again. Cameron himself almost was killed after a series of equipment malfunctions. Chalk this one up as a learning experience for Cameron. What is this movie? Question 9. In what may sound familiar, in 1996, Marlon Brando was brought onto a project filming in Southeast Asian jungles once again. Brando showed up overweight and unprepared, having to resort to his lines being fed to him during the scene by a radio in his ear, a trick he learned on Apocalypse Now. This movie also cycled through leads before settling on Val Kilmer, who was so hated by the original director that, after being fired 2 days into filming, snuck back onto set to tell Kilmer to fuck off. There's even a scene where Brando wears an ice bucket on his head because he was too hot and no one had the guts to tell him to take it off. Of what H.G. Wells novel is this ridiculously bad movie and adaptation? Your last question in this category. The late 90s reboot attempt of Superman called Superman Lives got off to a promising start. Tim Burton was set to direct, and young talent and comic book enthusiast Kevin Smith was set to write the script. But after clashes with execs at Warner Brothers, including demands that Superman never wear his iconic costume, have no superpowers, and that the final battle involve a giant spider, the talent started to drop out. That included the big-name stars set to play Superman, who was fresh off an Academy Award win. Who was this 90s action star? And if you've never heard of this movie, it's because at a cost of around $50 million, it was scrapped before a single scene was shot. Okay, that was a mouthful. This next category is not. Category 3 is timeline. In this category, I will give you 5 events from history, and you have to put them in the right chronological order from earliest to most recent. Here are your 5 events. Joan of Arc ends the siege of the French city of Orleans. The Peasants' Revolt occurs in England. The first record of windmills. The first public opera house opens in Venice, and the Spanish Inquisition begins. Unexpectedly, I assume. Okay, so that makes up 5 questions. Your last category in round number 1 is called Mythical Monsters. Sorry, 5 questions about monsters. Here's your first one. What monster in Irish folklore is a female spirit who heralds the death of a family member, usually by wailing or shrieking? Question 17. An evil spirit from the folklore of the First Nations people in the Great Lakes region of Canada in the US, it is said that this creature possesses or influences humans and coerces them into acts of murder and even cannibalism. What is it called? Question 18. What legendary creature from the folklore of Latin American nations is said to be a blood-sucking monster that attacks livestock, especially goats? Question 19. What winged female warrior spirit from Norse mythology is said to choose who will live and die in battle, and whose name literally means chooser of the slain in Old Norse? And your last question in round number 1. From Greek mythology, a woman with hair made of living snakes. Medusa was one. What is it called? Okay, that's the end of round number 1. Let's do some answers. The NBA superstar pulled in a game against the Raptors last week. That's Kevin Durant. New York Times produced documentary is about Britney Spears. Question 3. Rob Ponton appeared in his Zoom call with in district court proceedings as a cat and didn't seem to be able to figure out how to undo the filter. Question 4. The American New Wave band fronted Belinda Carlisle. That's the Go-Go's. And the performer who got 3 Golden Globe nominations is Sacha Baron Cohen. Production nightmares. So I'm not going to read this all again, but this first one is Jaws. The shark wouldn't work. This one, Apocalypse Now. The co-star who was basically on coke the whole time was Dennis Hopper, and it showed in his performance. Question 8. The movie that James Cameron almost got people killed while filming is The Abyss. Marlon Brando, again, this movie is an adaptation of The Island of Dr. Moreau. Here he is wearing the ice bucket. And the last one, the person who is set to play Superman is Nicolas Cage. Timeline. So here's your order of those events. You have to get them in the right order to get the marks. Here you go. First record of windmills, the Peasants' Revolt, Joan of Arc, Spanish Inquisition, and then first public opera house. And monsters. Irish folklore monster is a banshee. Then we have a Wendigo. Latin American blood-sucking monster is a chupacabra. This is a Valkyrie, and the last one is Medusa is a Gorgon. Okay, let's move on to round number 2. Your first category is called Wanted, Dead, or Alive. So I'm going to name you a notable person, and you just have to tell me if they are dead or alive. So every one of these questions is 50-50. Here you go. Here are your 5 people. Dick Van Dyke. Is he dead or alive? Eva Marie Saint. Dead or alive? Bob Barker. And you have Hugh Hefner and Doris Day, who was featured last week. Moving along, your next category is called Extreme Animals. It's all about animals who leave extreme lifestyles. Here's your first one. What fish pictured below can survive for up to 4 days on land by breathing through its skin and through water trapped in its lungs? Next question. By far the longest migration in the animal kingdom, what medium-sized bird travels from pole to pole every year, a distance of 90,000 kilometers? 28. In case this creature wants to do a little 5-finger discounting, they should make sure to wear gloves, because what is the only non-primate to have fingerprints? Question 29. Speaking of birds, what kind of bird can turn its head 270 degrees? And your last question in this category. Fortunately native to Africa, what deadly snake is the fastest in the world, capable of reaching speeds of nearly 20 kilometers an hour? Okay, moving on. Next we have origin stories. Here we go. Born Abel Makanin Tesfaye in Toronto in 1990 to Ethiopian immigrants and was known to shoplift in his youth to fuel a drug habit before dropping out of high school to pursue his dream. Kind of clunky. I'm not changing it. 32. Born in 1961 in Norfolk, the fourth of 5 children of the Viscount Althorp, who raised her alongside her grandmother after the split of her parents, worked a number of small jobs, including preschool teacher and nanny, before moving on to larger things. Question 33. Born in 1975 in Cypress, California, to parents Earl and Cutilda, growing up in nearby Orange County. Identified as a child prodigy appearing on the Mike Douglas show at the age of 3 and beginning a professional career at the age of 20. Who is this person? 34. Born in 1979 in Scarborough to immigrant parents, moved all around Canada before settling in Windsor, has a science degree from Western and a law degree from Osgoode Hall, after which he worked in criminal defense before moving on to another career. And your last origin story. Born as Anjesa Gongshui Bujakshu in 1910 in what is now Macedonia, traveled to Ireland at the age of 18 to learn English and then on to India a year later. Who is this person? Okay, your word category for the week is the word trail. In this category, the last 2 letters of one answer, when reversed, will be the first 2 letters of the next answer. Here's your first clue. To punish someone by dragging them through the water under a ship. So if you know what that is, take the last 2 letters, flip them around, and they will be the first letters for this clue. The last name of the author of the Bourne trilogy. Because they are based on books, those movies. 38. A side dish often served with fish and chips. 39. Nicaraguan government forces from the 1980s opposed by the US-backed Contras. And 40, we have Spock's father in the Star Trek universe. Okay, that's round number 2. Let's take up the answers. Dead or alive, Dick Van Dyke is alive. Eva Marie Saint, alive. Bob Barker, he is also alive. Hugh Hefner is dead, and Doris Day is dead. Extreme animals, this is a mud skipper. The longest migration is done by an Arctic tern. The only non-primate to have fingerprints is a koala. The bird that can turn its head 270 degrees, that's owls can do that. And the fastest snake in the world is the black mamba. Born Abel Makanin Tesfaye, that's The Weeknd. Born in Norfolk to the Viscount Althorp, it's Princess Di. Cypress, California, that is Tiger Woods. Born in Scarborough, that's Jagmeet Singh. And this person is Mother Teresa. Your word trail, punish someone by dragging them through the water, that's called keel haul. Then last name of the author, his name is Robert Ludlum. Side dish often served with fish and chips, that's mushy peas. Nicaraguan government forces were called the Sandinistas, and your last one, Spock's father, is Sarek. Okay, let's move on to round number 3. Your first category is TV finales. I ask you a question, or describe the finale of a TV show. You just have to tell me what that show is. Here's your first one. From 2013, the main character flees to become a lumberjack while leaving his son behind with a murderer. Also, the most redeemable character dies. Question 42. From 1977, everyone at WJM TV is fired except for Ted. 43. After a parade of character witnesses, all 4 main characters are sentenced to a year in prison. 44. The show's creator is shown in a chair and he says a single word, winning, before a piano falls on him. And your last one, the town of Walnut Grove is blown up by the residents to keep it from falling into the hands of a developer. Okay, your next category is water under the bridge. I'm going to show you an image of a bridge, and you have to tell me what body of water flows underneath it. Here's your first one. Next we have this. And this. And this one. And finally, okay, moving on. Next we have general knowledge, 5 random questions. Here's your first. What does the word allocution mean? Is it the skill of clear and expressive speech, a formal speech giving advice or warning, or to lecture someone for a mistake or error? 52. What is the capital of Albania? 53. This movie sound effect has been used so often it has its own name. What is it? Here's the sound effect. Question 54. What is this dog popularized in many memes typically saying as its home burns down around him? And your last one in general knowledge. What is the name of this accent? You see it there. Commonly seen on the letter N, particularly in words of Spanish origin. Okay, 3-pointers. First 3-pointer. Tampa capped a remarkable sports season with a win by the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl, which, along with the Stanley Cup winning Lightning, gives the city of Tampa 2 titles among the Big Four North American sports. What are the last 3 cities to also hold 2 titles at the same time? Question 57. Name the 3 countries with the largest populations that are located completely in the southern hemisphere. So completely. Question 58. Starting at the highest pitch and working down, what are the 3 voice ranges after soprano according to the operatic system of classification? Question 59. As of 2019, what are the largest fruit crops in Canada by acreage planted? And your last question of the night. After the title character himself, which 3 characters in Shakespeare's Hamlet have the most lines? Okay, that's the end of round number 3. Let's get some answers. TV finales. So this one, guy becomes a lumberjack for no reason, leaving his son behind, and his sister dies. That is Dexter, and this is a clip of me watching this finale. 42. Everyone at WGM TV is fired. That's Mary Tyler Moore Show. Parade of character witness. They all go to prison. That's Seinfeld. 44. This was a bizarre TV finale from what I could read. This is 2.5 Men. And Town of Walnut Grove is the setting of Little House on the Prairie. Water. This is the Peace Bridge. It is over the Niagara River. This bridge, some of you might have driven it. It is over Tampa Bay. This bridge, you can see this is Hoover Dam. So if you said Hoover Dam, I guess you can give yourself a point, but it's really over the Colorado River. This bridge is in Hungary. The clue is the Hungarian flag here. The river that goes through Budapest is the Danube. And this funky looking bridge goes over the Firth of Forth in Scotland. Allocution is a formal speech giving advice or warning. The capital of Albania is Tirana. That sound effect is called the Wilhelm scream. This dog is usually saying this is fine. And this accent is called a tilde. 3-pointers, the last 3 cities to have 2 of the 4 big titles. Los Angeles has it right now. They have the NBA and Major League Baseball titles. And we have Boston, it's actually a couple times. And Pittsburgh had the Super Bowl and the Stanley Cup at the same time. 57. The three countries with the largest populations in the southern hemisphere: South Africa, Tanzania, and Argentina. 58. Working our way down from soprano, you have mezzo-soprano, contralto, and tenor. Largest fruit crops in Canada is, the first one is blueberries, and it's by far the biggest. It is really surprising. We have apples and grapes. The three characters with most lines in Hamlet after Hamlet himself: Claudius, Polonius, and Horatio. Okay, that's trivia for this week. Hope you had fun. I'm going to go have a nap.